Hey guys, it's Omer from MMOs.com doing a quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news and announcements the week ending July 17th, 2017. This is episode number 104 of the recap, and the first bit of news this week is from Sandbox Interactive regarding Albion Online. We mentioned it last week, but it's worth mentioning again because Albion Online officially launched today and there won't be any more wipes going forward. It's one of those games that stayed in alpha for a few years, and I actually first played it about 2 years ago, but of course it's changed a lot since then and is now more widely available. The game was inspired by old school titles like RuneScape and Ultima, but has a more modern feel. I say it's worth trying, but if you bought the $100 pack, you can start playing it today, the $50 pack can start playing it tomorrow, and the $30 pack can start playing it on Wednesday. I expect the Grindfest video for this one on Friday. And speaking of new MMORPGs, Wild West Online revealed their first gameplay video this last week as well. The Wild West themed MMO seems interesting conceptually, but the release of the video has a lot of people on Reddit questioning the authenticity of some of the gameplay shown. Wild West Online's connection to Sergei Titov, who was the guy behind War Z, Last Man Standing, and a bunch of other games, it has people questioning the game's hype. Personally, I'm not too hyped about it, but based on what I've seen, I also don't think it warrants all the criticism either. The game isn't seeking crowdfunding, and it will be playable in some form in alpha this summer, and they claim to have a pretty robust refund policy as well. I hope the game does well, as a Wild West themed MMO does sound pretty awesome, but time will tell. Up next, Citadel Forged with Fire set to launch on Steam Early Access on July 26th. The game is a massive online sandbox RPG with magic, spellcasting, and inter-kingdom conflict. The game boasts non-linear progression, so players are free to do their own thing and build massive castles and tame random beasts. It sounds a bit like an MMO sandbox, so maybe something a bit like Rust, Ark, and Conan Exiles with some persistent elements, and if that's true, it's also a lot like a Dark and Light, at least conceptually. And despite Early Access launching on Steam on July 26th, the game is expected to remain in Early Access for about 8 to 12 months before launching fully sometime in 2018. This one looks pretty cool, and I'm excited to give it a try when I can. Moving right along, the HTML5 powered browser/mobile action MMORPG Mad World revealed a new gameplay trailer this last week. Prior to this reveal, we haven't heard too much about the Korean developed game, but I'm liking what I'm seeing in the video. The gameplay looks fast-paced and actiony, and the visuals kind of remind me of Don't Starve for some reason, and I actually really like those visuals. The cross-platform play is a bonus as well, as it looks like a traditional PC MMORPG more so than something made specifically for mobile. So I don't expect it to have any autoplay or any of that mobile nonsense. Mad World does boast true multi-platform play as well. It'll be available on PC, Mac, iOS, Android, and Linux, and it is expected to launch sometime in 2018. Next up, Final Fantasy XIV previewed the Lost Canals of Uzaner dungeon, which is mechanically similar to Aquapolis. Players who complete the dungeon can get a Namazu minion, which is a rare drop from the level 70 Lost Canals dungeon. The minion is a catfish guy you see in the main story quest. I just hope he makes an adorable squeaky noise which he makes when he walks in the cutscenes. The update is set to launch on July 18th with patch 4.05, which will also include the Omega Deltascape Savage raid. And I do believe this is the first Savage dungeon coming to Stormblood, so that's pretty hype. Next up, Grim Dawn, the isometric action RPG from Crate Entertainment, released some gameplay videos this week showing off content from their latest expansion, which is set to launch sometime in Q2 or Q3 2017, which should be September at the latest. The video shows off the new Inquisitor class, which is one of the 2 new classes, the second being the Necromancer. The expansion will add 14 new devotion constellations, as well as 5 more ranks to each celestial proc already in the game. If you like isometric action RPGs like Diablo or Path of Exile, this one is definitely worth trying. The game is still quite popular as well, as it averages a little over 3,000 concurrent users on Steam, which is excellent. It still plays second fiddle to Path of Exile in terms of popularity, which gets about 10,000 average over the last 30 days, but unlike Path of Exile, Grim Dawn is buy to play and available for $24.99. Up next, a mobile MMORPG announced that I think actually looks pretty awesome. Nexon announced Mabinogi Mobile this week and is expected to release sometime in 2018. And while I think the trailer looks pretty cool, not much is known about the game at the moment, and we likely won't be seeing an English release until many months after the Korean one, if ever. What makes Mabinogi Mobile special in my mind is that Mabinogi itself was actually quite a unique MMORPG. There was really nothing else like it. So I'm hoping the Mabinogi Mobile game doesn't play like every other mobile game out there, so it should be different, probably no autoplay, and it looks pretty nice so far. Too bad we'll have to wait quite a while to try it. Also in mobile news, and perhaps the most fun news of the week, Riot Games sues developer behind Mobile Legends Bang Bang for copyright infringement. If you've never heard of Mobile Legends, well, you're in for a treat. I don't think you have to be a legal scholar to identify the copyright infringement taking place here. Just look at these characters and their similarity. They are literally identical, and some of the words and abilities are copied word for word. And what makes this story even more interesting is that the company behind Mobile Legends had the audacity and the balls to deny all allegations of copyright infringement. They're basically saying, "What are you talking about, Riot? This is completely original. We didn't copy anything." But we'll see how this works out. Up next, Asta Online launched a big update this last week called 2.0 Update, which is the first major update since it relaunched after Webzen took it down. The update adds a new Berserker class, new Bulwado battle arena, increased the game's level cap from 50 to 55, adds 3 new raid dungeons, increases max skill points, adds new gear, and much more. And while Asta isn't nearly as big as stuff like Black Desert or other big PC MMORPGs, the game is definitely holding its own. According to Steam charts, it's averaging about 520 or so concurrent users over the last 60 days, so the game definitely has an audience. Next up, ZeniMax launched Elder Scrolls Online patch 3.10 update this last week, which includes updates to the base game, as well as introduces the Horns of the Reach DLC game pack. As always, the base update is free for anyone who owns ESO, but the DLC pack is included with the ESO Plus membership. The update adds 2 new 4-player dungeons, Bloodfoot Forge and Falkreath Hold, as well as a new Battlegrounds map along with a new Battlegrounds game mode. As with any other update, besides the new content, the patch also includes a ton of minor tweaks and bug fixes. And despite the Morrowind update launching just recently, players should expect a steady stream of content to keep things fresh. Up next, Revelation Online revealed the Eternal Chasm in their latest dev blog, which is a new dungeon available to players level 59 and higher. Currently, only 2 of the 5 modes are available for the dungeon run, with the rest coming in future updates. More interestingly though, the game is also rolling out player housing on July 26th. Players can buy their own residence after reaching level 40, and like other housing systems in other MMOs, players can decorate their own homes and invite friends to hang out. Revelation Online is one of the few client-based Chinese MMORPGs that launched in the West in recent times, so if you never played it, it's at least worth trying. Plus, they did a pretty solid job of rolling out tons of content since original launch. Moving right along, Rise of Icarus officially launched this week. The game has been available in open beta for some time, but it moved from open beta to full release this week. There isn't a big update with your release, but I expect some fun in-game events to celebrate the occasion. The game began its open beta with a level cap of 20, but that's actually all the way up to 60 now with the latest update. Rise of Icarus is available on both Nexon's own launcher as well as Steam. If you never played Rise of Icarus, the game is still quite alive and well, averaging about 1,200 or so players concurrent over the last 30 days on Steam alone, so it's still quite lively. Next up, Jagex is working on a brand new free-to-play emote according to 2 job postings, one for a senior game designer and the other for a game programmer. We don't know anything about the new project just yet, but I suspect it may use Spatial OS as they licensed it a few months ago. It could also be related to Next Gen, which was supposedly leaked on a previous RuneScape stream. I say supposedly because it did seem a bit intentional, or it could have been a PR event, but we don't know. Still though, beyond these 2 job listings, we have nada. But hey, Jagex is working on a new free-to-play MMO. Moving right along, the buy-to-play sandbox MMO Tree of Life is finally launching sometime in August 2017, after spending over 2 years in early access. The launch comes with some major changes, most notably an update to the game engine, which will result in better graphics, streamlined UI, and performance optimizations. PvP will also undergo massive improvements and polishing, but no word on exactly what that means just yet. Tree of Life is an interesting title. It launched their early access with a ton of hype and over 2,000 concurrent players. Over the last 6 months or so though, the game is pretty much dead, averaging about 35 or so players online at once, which is quite disappointing for a sandbox MMO. Craft's official launch in August will breathe new life to the game. We'll have to wait and find out though. We're along some news for Gigantic from Perfect World. The game is fully launching on July 20th, which is this week. The game has been available for some time in open beta, but now anyone can play it on Steam or Xbox One starting on the 20th. If you've never heard of Gigantic, yes, it's another MOBA, but it doesn't play the same as League or Dota, so it is at least a tad bit different. Plus, I really like the game's visuals. It's got this really stylish, cel-shaded look to it, and I think it's really beautiful. And we'll see how the game does when it launches on Thursday on Steam. Up next, a bit of news on the free-to-play FPS front. Black Squad just finished its first round of closed beta testing on Steam. It's a Korean tactical lobby-based shooter that plays a lot like Combat Arms and Alliance of Valiant Arms. It's developed by NeoWiz Games, so I guess they're trying to make back some of the money they lost on Blast with this shooting game. I personally enjoy playing these kinds of games, even though they rarely offer anything different. Closed beta 2 for this one is set to begin on July 22nd and will run for a few days. Full open beta / launch is set to begin sometime in the summer. In my opinion, this game isn't bad, but there just really isn't enough weapons. Combat Arms has like 300 plus weapons, and this game has like 20 at the moment, but I'm sure they'll add more. Another minor gripe is it really offers nothing new. It's the same old Korean lobby-based shooter we've been playing since Combat Arms and the dozens of other games like it. But even saying that, I actually had fun with the beta. Also in the free-to-play shooter news, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex First Assault announced their renewal update, which will be launching tomorrow on July 18th and will renew the game. The update adds 3 new operative, Azuma, Reiko, and Sitara, and also adds a new map called the Electronic Center, as well as balance changes to practically every weapon in the game. If you never played this one, like Black Squad, it does play a bit like Combat Arms and other Korean lobby-based shooters. The twist here, though, is that it's set in the Ghost in the Shell universe, so it has a sci-fi theme, which does help make the game a tad different. It also averages about 550 or so players on Steam over the last 60 days, so people do play and you can find matches, and the sci-fi theme at least makes it somewhat different. The next and last bit of news this week is also about a tactical lobby-based shooter from Korea. This time it's about Warrock. The game officially launched on Papaya Play this week. Prior to this, it's been on Nexon EU, and prior to that, it's been on Gamers First, so the game really gets around. Unlike Lawtail though, which also launched on Papaya Play recently, character data can be transferred over to Warrock from its previous publisher, so if you played on Nexon EU and want your account data saved, make sure to transfer it over to Papaya Play. Perhaps the biggest change with the game's move to Papaya Play though is introduction of a new anti-cheat system. Time will tell whether it actually works or not, because free-to-play shooters are notoriously always hacked. I mean, you play Combat Arms, how often did you run into a hacker? It happened all the time. Anyway guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later guys.